So, what happens when GM builds a 2-speed automatic for grandma's car? And somehow, it ends up dominating drag racing for the next 60 years. That's the story of the Powerglide. It started as a mild, basic automatic for grocery getters. But today, the Powerglide is the most popular drag racing transmission in the world. So how did that happen? Why would a 2-speed transmission from the 1950s end up in cars running 6-second quarter miles? Stick around, because halfway through, we'll get into the race shop secrets that made the Powerglide unbeatable at the strip. The birth of the Powerglide. Let's take it back to the beginning. In 1950, Chevrolet dropped the first ever Powerglide automatic transmission. At the time, it was a big deal. It was the first affordable automatic from a major American brand. Before the Powerglide, if you wanted an automatic, you were stuck buying a Cadillac or Oldsmobile. Chevy needed something simpler and cheaper. So they built the Powerglide. The original Powerglide was a cast-iron beast, and it wasn't exactly fast. Early versions didn't even shift automatically. You had to manually put it into low gear if you wanted both speeds. Otherwise, it'd just stay in high. Here's the gear spread. First gear, 1.8, 2 to 1. Second gear, 1 to 1 direct. That's it. 2 gears. Most people in the 50s and early 60s weren't worried about racing. They wanted smooth, reliable cruising. The Powerglide did exactly that. It was simple, tough, and easy to drive. Ask anyone who drove a 60s Impala or a Bel Air with a Powerglide. They'll tell you the same story. Smooth shifts, no drama. It wasn't built for burnouts, but it got grandma to church and back for 20 years straight. By 1962, GM updated the Powerglide with an aluminum case, making it lighter and more efficient. The aluminum version is the one most racers still use today. Here's where things get interesting. In the late 60s and early 70s, drag racers started realizing the Powerglide had a secret weapon. It was simple and consistent. In drag racing, you're not worried about driving across town. You just need to get from the starting line to the finish line as fast as possible. And guess what? Most cars only use first and high gear anyway. So racers figured out, why have a complicated transmission when a 2-speed gets the job done perfectly? The Powerglide's 1.82 low gear launched the car off the line, and once you shifted into high, that was it. No other gears to worry about. No extra shifts to slow you down. Why the Powerglide won the drag strip. So why did the Powerglide become the go-to drag racing transmission? Here's why. It's simple. The Powerglide was just easier to live with at the track. Fewer moving parts means fewer things to break. No complicated shift overlap, no extra clutch packs or planetary sets to worry about. That simplicity made it stupid reliable, and in racing, reliability wins. Then there's consistency. With only 2 gears, you've got 1 shift to make, and that's it. Less shifting means less room for error. No chasing gears, no timing issues, just a clean launch and 1 pull into high gear. And because the Powerglide is light, especially the aluminum version, there's less rotating mass robbing horsepower. You get quicker acceleration because the trans isn't soaking up as much energy. Plus, if you're running big horsepower, you don't need 4 or 5 gears anyway. High torque engines like turbos, blowers, and nitrous setups work better when you keep them in the power band without bouncing through multiple shifts. The Powerglide lets you just plant your foot and go. Built for abuse. Once the aftermarket started building race converters, billet drums, and hardened shafts, the Powerglide went from a mild street trans to a brutal drag racing machine. Today's race-built Powerglides can handle 2,000 horsepower or more with no problem. Here's something wild. Even in 2025, you'll still see Powerglides in pro-mod cars, top sportsmen, and bracket racing. We're talking about cars running 6-second quarter miles at over 200 miles an hour, using a transmission that started life in a 1950s grocery getter. Why? Because with massive torque from supercharged big blocks and nitrous-fed engines, the Powerglide keeps the launch simple and the run consistent. And in bracket racing, consistency is everything. The Powerglide is like clockwork. How it stacked up against the rest. Why the Powerglide shouldn't have survived, but did. Let's be real. On paper, the Powerglide was outgunned. The TH400 had 3 gears. The 727 Torqueflite had 3 gears. Even Ford's C4 and C6 had more going on. 3 forward gears, extra clutch packs, and in the C6's case, a big torque converter designed for heavy loads. By comparison, the Powerglide looked almost primitive. 2 gears? In the 60s, that was fine for a 6-cylinder grocery getter. But once muscle cars took over, people figured the Powerglide would get left behind. But here's the twist. Drag racing isn't about having the most gears. It's about getting to the finish line first. And in a high-horsepower, lightweight car, fewer shifts actually make you faster. Every time you shift, you risk losing traction or upsetting the chassis. The Powerglide eliminated that problem. With just one shift, it lets the car launch hard, settle in, and stay glued to the track. That's why, even though the other transmissions had more on-paper advantages, the Powerglide became the racer's choice for putting big power down clean. Why racers love the Powerglide. The Powerglide isn't just a 2-speed. It's a purpose-built race tool once you get into the aftermarket versions. Here's why racers swear by it. First off, it's bulletproof. A properly built Powerglide can survive thousands of passes at the strip without cracking a case or shredding internals. We're talking 1,500 to 2,000 horsepower builds in some cases. And the trans just keeps doing its job. No drama, no explosions. It's also tunable. One of the first things racers do is swap out the factory 1.82 low gear for a 1.76 gear set. That might sound like a tiny change, but on the starting line, it makes a huge difference. A tighter gear ratio means the car leaves the line smoother, hooks better, and stays in the power band longer. It's the difference between spinning the tires and making a clean, consistent launch every time. And that's why bracket racers love the Powerglide. Drag racing is all about consistency, not just speed. If your car runs the exact same number every time, you win. The Powerglide makes that possible because there's less to go wrong, fewer shifts to mess up, and no surprises. At the end of the day, it's predictable. Once you set it up right, a Powerglide shifts the same way every pass. No weird kickdowns, no sudden shifts at the wrong time. Just clean, simple power transfer from start to finish. Here's a twist. The Powerglide isn't just for drag racing. You'll find them in mud boggers, rock crawlers, and even some off-road racers. Why? Because the simplicity makes it perfect for high-stress situations where you don't want to be fiddling with extra gears. In the mud, in the rocks, or on the sand, sometimes 2 speeds is all you need. The legacy of the Powerglide. Chevy officially ran the Powerglide from 1950 to 1973, but its legend never died. Even today, you can buy brand new aftermarket Powerglide cases, internals, and parts from companies like ATI, TCI, and Reed Racing. Race shops build them from scratch, no junkyard cores needed. And in the NHRA, IHRA, and bracket racing across America, you'll still find more Powerglides than any other automatic transmission. Why? Because when it comes to drag racing, consistency wins over everything else. And the Powerglide is the most consistent automatic ever made. You'll even see Powerglides in modern LS swaps and turbo builds. Why? Because in a high horsepower car that makes boost fast, a 2-speed keeps the RPMs in the sweet spot without bogging down between shifts. At the end of the day, The TH400, C6, and 727 were built for street and strip. But the Powerglide? It was built for the street. And then, drag racers turned it into a legend. And it's still out there, shifting away.